A couple of reissues. Well, let's do both of them. Firstly, so Cinema Paradiso is back in cinemas very briefly before being reissued on Blu-ray and DVD. The cinema version is the 124-minute version, so the story was the film originally came out. You know the story. So basically, the story about a filmmaker goes back, revisiting his past after the wake of the death of a projectionist, and then he sort of goes back into childhood memories. And it's the film is known as a sort of love letter to cinema. And it's funny because we were talking about kissing bits, and there is the sort of the famous kissing montage, and it's all to do with the magic of cinema. But there's more melancholy than that. There are two versions. It came out in Italy first. People didn't like it very much. It was then cut down. It was creatively re-edited. It then went on to Cannes. It won the Grand Jury Prize at Cannes, then went on to win the Oscar for Best Foreign Language Film. And did very well in that. And then later on was reconstructed into the so-called director's cut, which adds a sort of darker edge, adds more of a kind of melancholia, more of a sort of poignant sense. So what's happening is it's coming back at cinemas. This is the 25th anniversary now. Blimey. I mean, how old does that make us feel? Cinema Paradiso is 25 years. Cinema Paradiso is a quarter of a century old. So it's in cinemas in the 124-minute version, and then there's a Blu-ray coming out on Monday which has got that version and also the longer version. I mean, some of the jury's out. Some people like the longer. I prefer the longer version. Some people like the shorter version. But they're both available. And the general feeling is the 124-minute version. If you're going to complain that it's too saccharine and too schmaltzy, well, there it is. Actually, if you go and watch the longer version, it puts some of the darkness back into it and makes the story play out in a slightly more thorough way, although people are basically wowed by the 124-minute version. Also, as part of the BFI's Gothic season, they've reissued The Innocents, the Jack Clayton film, which is an adaptation of Turn of the Screw, on which Truman Capote takes a co-screenwriting credit. I can't do Truman Capote.
Toby Jones or Noby Jones?
Toby Jones or Noby Jones, yeah. It is a Toby Jones thing. And it is a really extraordinary film. It is... What it does is, because the whole thing about the story is there's a governess, she's looking after these two children, and she thinks that the children harbour something supernatural, something demonic. She thinks she's in a house, and she believes that the house is actually possessed of ghostly spirits, and somehow the children are involved in this. But the whole essence of the tale is there's an ambiguity as to whether what's happening is happening in the world or whether what's happening is happening in her mind, and she's kind of projecting, because there's a whole thing about her own sort of repressed desires and her own feelings. And what the film does is it's a sort of masterclass in balancing off the suggestion with the supernatural, in giving you the sense that you're watching a story that's actually happening, but you're also watching a story which is happening within the mind of the protagonist. Deborah Kerr, remember that Deborah Kerr spelt Deborah Kerr, but Deborah Kerr rhymes with star, is terrific in the lead role. It's absolutely beautifully shot by Freddie Francis, CinemaScope, monochrome CinemaScope, and it really stands up. It does that thing. Friedkin always talked about the classic thing that a horror film should do is give you that feeling of a cold hand on the back of the neck. And this really does that. When people talk about films being hair-raising, they talk about them being spine-tingling, they talk about them being skin-crawling. There is, that's that sense of the uncanny, not just something going quiet, loud, bang, boo, not that, but something doing that thing about sort of creeping around you and suggesting. I mean, obviously, some of the suggestions are fleshed out in the film, but it does that classic thing that an uncanny, eerie chiller ought to do, which is that it gives you the sense all the time that something is happening at the edge of the frame, something is happening at the edge of the story, and it's all to do with watching her and what she thinks she's seeing and what she may be seeing. It's a kind of film in which a face in a window is the scariest thing you've seen in a really long time. It's the kind of film in which two children laughing from a balcony is just creepy as anything. Wow. It's a very, very powerful and atmospheric film, and it's great to see it being reissued. And if you get a chance to go and see it, go and see it.
And will it be quite tough to try and find here?
No, I mean they are reissuing it properly, so it is you are available to go. It will be you have to go and see it in a good cinema, obviously, but it is going out. It is going to be properly available, and it is well worth seeing on the big screen.